Okay, welcome Facebook Live, Family of Light. Let me get rid of this. I don't know where this came from, but let me see if I can exit it out. Interesting how that happened. Okay, there we go. The technology, you just never know what's going to happen moment to moment. It keeps on changing. So I just want to say hello to our participants who are on Zoom. As the Ascended Masters always say, thank you for showing up because we are in a world of choice, of duality, and we could be doing many other things, particularly on a Saturday, 5 p.m., but you have chosen to be here, and blessings on that. Hello, Betty McCormick. How are you? And Donna and Mara, good to see you guys. Okay, so this is the fifth Saturday Sabbath. And as I mentioned before, usually I do the Open Heart Divine Healing Service, which is the first Saturday of the month. I just want to tell everybody that is participating on Zoom and here at the center itself, and also for those who will be seeing this feed a little bit later on, if they're not seeing it live, that at some point in July, the Cosmic Center intends to be fully open. So people will be able to come fully again. And I know we've all been missing that, but we will also continue Zoom because now we're national and we're international. So that will remain the same. So we're going to do both. And also, we're going to have a time change. So we've been doing the Saturday Sabbath at 5 o'clock. If you go on our website, you will see why we made that change. It was an ecclesiastical decision to change from Sunday to Saturday. And we've done that because we feel that, of course, when anybody worships, that is absolutely significant and is special. But in aligning ourselves with the Ark of the Covenant, we decided that the Saturday is a Sabbath that at least we wanted to um, symbolize the fact that we are aware of Saturday Sabbath, but Saturday Sabbath, of course, can cross right on over to Sunday. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to a Sabbath that will be on Sunday. More than likely it'll be in the morning as we had in the past at 10:30. So that's not going to happen until sometime around in the summer, maybe July, a little after July, but we will most certainly alert everybody of that time change, the time, and also not doing Saturdays, but we'll be doing Sundays once again. Okay, at this time, I'd like to get started. And for those of you that are on Zoom, I'm going to share my screen. And what I want to, let me just, let's see, I'm going to get, all right, 1 second here. Let me see if I could get this smaller. Okay, 1 moment. And I'm going to get what I want to show so we could say our prayers together. Okay. So what I'd like to do is let's start off with the great invocation. For those who are here, you will see it there in your program. And the mantra for the new age and humanity, we do say the original version of it, which is from 1945. So this was the language in 1945. But you get the intention of what the great invocation is about and why I chose. Do you see the great invocation? And why I chose the great invocation is that, of course, it comes from the great work of Alice Bailey, of Theosophy, Ascended Master Dwal Kul, also known as the Tibetan. This was back in like the 1920s and 30s. And this was one of the many waves on the planet that has come into awakening the consciousness of humanity. And the great invocation of why I'm saying would like us to do this in particular for the topic I'm going to talk about. And the topic I'm going to talk about is extraterrestrials. That's what I'm going to talk about. And the great invocation is very intricate to that. And the great invocation is all about the opening up of the lotus, if you will, of consciousness of humanity. First of all, there were humans that thought that the sun revolved around us. And that was a belief system. The church at the time said that's the way it is. We are it, and the sun revolves around us. And then, of course, this when critical thinking skills and science came into being and saying, no, we don't think that's right. I don't think the sun, I think we revolve around the sun. And so that was a shift in consciousness. And then there was a point where people thought that the earth was flat. And yes, I know there's some people that still believe that, but I'm going to go by the traditional one that the earth was flat and that if like if Christopher Columbus or, if you had a boat, the Vikings or whoever, the Hawaiians, and you went to a certain point, you would just fall off. And of course, that's not the case at all. The planet is spherical. So that was another shift in consciousness. And then the other major shift in consciousness is when, and I remember for myself how profound that was, when we saw the earth from the perspective of the moon. Okay, and it was the first time we saw our planet as a singularity. And it wasn't where you could say, oh, there's that group and there's that group. It was one. It was one planet, one humanity, one earthling. That's what it was. And no separation coming from this higher consciousness. So, from this higher consciousness, ever since we saw our planet from a unique perspective and come to realize that there are many, many, many worlds and many, many, many moons and many, many, many galaxies, it goes on and on and on, then the level of the consciousness of humanity for many, many people stepped up to the point that we can't be alone. We cannot be alone. And that information has been rumored for a very long time. In fact, at the time of Galileo, and also in the Bible and the Old Testament, it speaks of many things that perhaps, extraterrestrial presence, as far as humanity was concerned, and the awareness of that has been on the planet for a very long time. Why it is hidden or why things change, we may not know the whole story, but what we do know and what the unfolding of our own human consciousness is that clearly, we are now at an understanding that the divine is vast and that it's diverse and its expression is multidimensional and expansive. And so as we come into that understanding, that's going to be preparing us to where just at one point you had communities on the planet that never knew there was another community, and seeing them for the first time is like, whoa, you're over here and I'm over here, I didn't even know you existed. Well, that's going to be unfolding on a cosmic level where the masses of the humanity is going to be more aware. So what I'd like for all of us to do now is that the great invocation that started in 1945 was to hold the consciousness of humanity to flower and open up to its next level in its evolution and its consciousness. So let's all read the great invocation together. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. And let me just say in the small print, just for you to know a little bit, for those who may not be familiar with the Great Invocation, which many, many places have been using this mantra for decades, since 1945. The Great Invocation is a world prayer, ancient in its origin. It is an instrument of power to aid the plan of God find full expression on earth. To use it is an act of service to humanity and the Christ. Many religions believe in a world teacher or savior, knowing him under such names as the Christ, Lord Maitreya, the Aman, Mahdi, the Bhadavasta, the Messiah, and these terms are used in some of the Christian, Hindu, Muslim, Buddhist, and Jewish versions of the Great Invocation. So, this is a world prayer because we have to come now from the perspective of one humanity, one world prayer, because that's our next step in consciousness. And it can be easy or it could be difficult depending on the consciousness of humanity. We're going to go through our ascension process. But I remember many, many, many decades ago, I was shown very clearly that we have a choice. We could go. I actually saw. There's a game show that was called The Price is Right, and you had door number one, door number two, door number three, and so that was the analogy that was used. Door number one is saying, okay, we're on following, we unconditional love. You're not separate from me. You're my brother. You're my sister. Let's the kindness and that's like a nice smooth ride into our ascension process. And then door number three is like, who are you? And I am not my brother's keeper, and you're separate from me, and there's war and division. Much more bumpy, bumpy, bumpy road. And then you have the middle, and that's what I'm shooting for personally. It's the middle one, door number two, where maybe, it's not going to be as flowy as we could like, but not as bumpy either. And so, and it doesn't matter. All we really need is a small group of people, doesn't have to be 100%, that can hold the light quotient, that light within them. I always say like one light worker is equal to 100 people that in terms of holding that higher heart of compassion. Not everybody can do it, but more and more people are learning to hold that higher heart of compassion and unconditional love. And that's the path of mastery. And it only takes really a group, not even a very large group, that can hold that for the planet and let others like awaken up, awaken up, awaken up. And we could go through this process. So, for those who, as I say, the family of light upon the earth who have not forgotten, okay, as we can hold the light quotient and hold the unconditional love, even for those who at the moment are still in a state of ignorance or fear, whatever they're going through, where they can hold it, we can hold it for them and for the entire planet. So if you're listening to these words, all I have to say is that you're one of them. So, with that, too, the other thing I wanted to mention is that we are not alone. Esri Umpalti Ata Yodhe Vodhe, which is a name of God that basically says that we are not alone. And the Gabriel's divine love and golden light invocation that we're all going to say together is a testimony to this. Our light spectrum is very limited. It's like this. But the true light spectrum is like this. So, as explained to people, you may not see a microwave energy, but it does exist. You may not see ultraviolet, but it does exist. It's just that it's beyond our physical spectrum to see. There's more going on in the invisible world, okay, that impacts our physical world. And that's why it is the opening of our consciousness, our ever evolving enlightenment as to who we are and where we are in the grand scheme of things. So I'd like to start with continue with Gabriel's divine love and golden light invocation. And let's all say that together. You'll find it in your program. I invite the divine love and golden light active in the Christ consciousness to flow gracefully through me and anchor upon the earth. I now ask for an awakening connection within my DNA to divine love, compassion, and light from the highest source to the 12 strands of DNA within me, creating the full helix of light that activates my 12 chakra system. I ask for my soul's alignment to all the divine love and light that I can receive for the good of my evolution and the evolution of the earth at this time. I invite the assistance of the angels, archangels, masters, and all the beings of light who work for my awakening to be with me in this process. May all beings awaken to their divine potential and bring the presence of divine love into their hearts. May ever more grace flow through us all to bless this planet. May the earth be honored in a new way that allows our beautiful planet to thrive. May every heart feel the gifts of this loving presence within them, so peace may prevail on earth. Thank you, God, for this and all our blessings. And so it is, and so it is, and so it is. Okay, we'll stop sharing my screen. Okay, so we have said these prayers specifically for the topic that we're going to talk about. And it is the unfolding consciousness, it is our planet going through an ascension process, okay, where we no longer have to be a world of duality. We can raise the consciousness, the energy of our planet, like the Shambhala worlds, where it can have that perfect peace and that balance and the array of diversity and new creations that are out there and so on and so forth. But not all worlds are like ours. And so without going into the long cosmic story, in all traditions they speak of a time where something happened on the higher aeons. And uh, I remember I went to Catholic school and they talked about the fallen angels, and there's the watchers, and there's the Nephilim, and there's a lot of information in very ancient text. And you have to remember that in uh, the Council of Nicaea, which was orchestrated by Constantine in the Roman Empire, they picked and chose and cherry picked what went in, and a lot of very important information was left out. And in fact, how we do have the Hagamadi and the Dead Sea Scrolls is that somebody had the presence of mind to hide those sacred scripts. 2,000 years later, they're found. And there's been many others. The Book of Mani. There's so many that we are not aware of unless you have an interest or have become aware of it, or you're a scholar and you go and get this information. But in every single one, in all traditions, both the East and the West, they speak of like an intersection or an intervention of some kind where we were moving along a certain path and something happened. So many people call our world, and it's not just the whole world, ladies and gentlemen, it's the whole universe, a fallen universe. Okay, so we are on our way back now to where we've come from, our true spiritual identity. In Kabbalah, they call it the Adman Kadmon, okay, the divine human. We were here to be guardians of the planet. You know, that was the original kind of blueprint, and the interception happens. The interception happens because guess what? Just as we are co-creators, we hold a spark of the divine. Okay, we have a creational process, which is why when you realize how important your thoughts are, your words are, you become very conscious of it because you have the ability to create. Well, so the other levels and so-called demigods also have the level to create. And many, okay, as the fallen, you know, as the animal body is like, I want to be in charge and I want to stay in charge, or, I like the power, I don't want to give up the power. And, the things that we see in our world today can happen on other levels also. But this is the good news. The good news is this: we are loved beyond measure. We have our family of light that comes from just unconditional love, as portrayed by the Christ, by the Buddha, by Zoroaster, by so many, to say there is this part that is true and eternal, even as we're going through our own struggle. And perhaps even in our own struggle, it has its purpose to move us along, to master our skills as magnificent spiritual beings of light. And if you're listening to these words, you are here for a reason and purpose, absolutely 100%, because you are part of this tribe of light that is here to bring the planet out of darkness and into light. That's our job, in the unique way that you do it, that only you can do it. Only you can do it. You're put in situations or capacities or meeting people, a part of organization or where you work, or however that unfolds to you. You hold that light. You hold that light. And that's when all of us come together at once. I remember the anchor says, take your positions. Light workers, take your positions wherever you find yourself. Okay, and when we do that as a collective, it does. Light workers have been preventing World War III for decades. Certain prophecies that were supposed to take place that were not good or not a good experience have been averted to different timelines. Those are the prayers. Okay, those are the prayers of those who seek peace and love and unconditionally loving everyone. That's how powerful we are. Okay, now, is there the counterforce or what I call the anti human? Absolutely, they have their agenda. But guess what? I would say, look at who we're a part of. So now that's going to bring me into the higher awareness of we are not the only ones in the multiverse. And if you do the research, even going back to the Torah, to the uh, ancient writings, how they describe things during that time, it's something has happened, whether you want to say Moses in a burning bush, or you want to say, Ezekiel or Isaiah, the wheels within wheels. It clearly states that there's something beyond our physical, mental, and emotional world. And that in all traditions, there's been those from the sky. Now, I'm going to tell you one, Credo Mutwa, who was a Zulu shaman, and where David Icke and many people got a lot of their information from him. I do know J.J. Hurtak was personal friends with Mr. Mutwa, who has since passed some years ago. Very, very holy man, but he, what was unique, held the traditions, very ancient traditions from the African um, uh, uh, religious and spiritual path. And what they said was this: they said that many, long time ago, when they would think of God or the mother who takes care of them, they would look at the earth, they would look down, because that's who was taking care of them. It was Mother Earth. And then at some point, at that time, humans, were had a symbiotic relationships with animals and with plants. It was like truly a Garden of Eden. It was just truly this way how humans existed. They were telepathic, and maybe we weren't as physical as we are now, but it was another aeon of time where humans were having this experience that was more balanced and more integrated with nature and the sky. And then something happened, he said. Something came from the sky to earth and their tradition. And this something that came from the sky to earth changed a lot of things. Next thing you know, there was a hierarchy. And a hierarchy were certain humans, because they were connected to these gods that came from the sky, and they started to change how things were. They say, we're in charge, and then I'm going to make you in charge, and then these other people report to you. And so a whole structure, okay, developed, which was different and foreign from the original evolutionary process that was already in place. And then in their traditions, they had talked about shapeshifters, basically meaning that beings that came, but they could shapeshift how they looked, and they intermingled and, sort of got into humanity and structured it in a way where sort of they were kind of in control. And that's where your divine right, the divine right of kings, remember that if you held this DNA, it didn't matter if you were smart or not, if you had it, it all stems from this ancient legend as to what happened. So here we are now in 2021. In You have the ancient descriptions of what they feel is a interaction between non-terrestrial beings or terrestrial beings that have been on planet, stayed, and then somehow they left and will come back. So you could look at that from a more galactic perspective or spiritual perspective, but the concept is the same. Someone was here, they left, and they're going to come back. Now, I personally went to Pumapunku, and in Pumapunku, I saw those H blocks. They really don't know the age. Some people say it could be as old as 60,000 years old. I feel it's pre-flood, absolutely pre-flood. If you look at the technology, and this is in Peru, and you looked at the technology, there was no caveman that did that. No caveman did that. This is high-tech technology. They can't even date it. The Amara people that live there have a continuous lineages for like thousands and thousands of years. And they say this was before their time. And they say this was created by the star people. That's their legend. And then if you go to other places on the planet, even if you look at the pyramids, which I've seen, or you go to Swashisamon in Peru, these Sashiwawan, these blocks are like you can't even put a thin piece of paper in there. They're like, who did this? And it's dated tens of thousands. You look at the temples around the world, and there's what's it Gobekli Tempe. They're still trying to dig that, and they can't date that. So clearly on the planet there is now physical evidence that civilizations and very high level of civilizations existed on this planet aeons and aeons ago. Now, the book of Enoch, which was never got into the traditional Bible as we know it, as one is what is called the Apocrypha. The Apocrypha are those books, ancient books that were written that didn't get in the Bible that we know today. But the keys, the book of Enoch talks of the giants. They talk of a time of the Watchers, when they came, they saw the daughters of men as attractive. They went against the divine will, and so that set off a whole course of things that happened. That there was, in the epoch of time we were talking about our planet, we're talking billions and billions of years. So a lot of stuff could have happened, right? Between what we know is our most recent or even ancient history. And so the topic goes that there was this great flood. And the flood was that there was miscreations. Miscreations were being done because there was an interference. Part of our going back home or our rising awareness and consciousness has to do with now getting back in this alignment once again, that this interference of whichever way that came about, beings of whatever dimensions or extraterrestrials or tinkering with our DNA or coming in and interfering, whatever that is, okay, there is a love and benevolence, which is what the Christ was all about. The Christ came in, Jesus the Christ, the office of the Christ, and they said, listen, you are this divine being and you have great power within you, and slave and master and king are the same. Okay, can you imagine when back in the time when Jesus said, no, God loves you, you're a slave, but God loves you equally as he loves the king. God is about the love. What are you kidding me? So we have been slowly kind of getting this program that's been sort of what people may call the matrix, to start to dismantle that and to align once again with the divine truth, the message of love, the message that you are divine, and the message that you are eternal. And there's also the message, as Jesus the Christ said, my Father has a myriad of mansions. My Father has many, 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 many mansions, meaning many, 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 many worlds. And so now there has always been those mystics or those who have kept, the secret societies and things like that, that maybe have held this knowledge and not shared it out there into the general population. But those days are gone. All that has been hidden is now coming up to the light of day. All that is hitting is now coming up to the light of day, because we are now to the point where we are getting ready to do a major shift. And so the awareness, people are questioning things now for the first time. Before, years and years ago, even in my lifetime, you didn't question anything, you just did it. Now, not so much. Some of the younger people say, well, wait a minute, why am I doing this? Okay. And I used to give a joke a long time ago in my business corporate world, to bring this point across. I would say that the joke was where there was a newlywed couple, and the wife would cook this dinner like for Thanksgiving, and a roast, and she would cut like a big piece of the roast off, that had the meat on it and the bone, and threw it out. And he said, well, why are you doing that? And she said, well, my mother's always done that. That's just part of our tradition. And then he goes to the mom and says, she did the same thing. And he says, well, why are you taking that end of the meat and the bone and throwing it away? She said, we've always done that. My mother's always done it. So you got a chance to see the grandmother. And he asked the same question, why you do that? She said, because my oven was too small. She got to cut it. So, just to carry on the thing that sometimes these traditions happen, and you have to say, well, where is it coming from? And so it is good to question. It is starting to say, well, I don't know. Do I feel good about this? Do I trust my own intuition? I'm reading this or somebody's telling me this, but somehow I'm not feeling that. And we have to now begin to tune in to our own divine guidance and our own intuition. Okay, because there's a lot of stuff that's out there. Propaganda, misinformation has been around forever. Okay, so you always have one group saying they do propaganda, and the other group says, hey, no, they do propaganda. Propaganda has been around since the beginning of time, as far as humans are concerned. And that is why all this stuff is coming up now, challenging us to trust our own instinct, to trust our own intuition. My mother used to say, all that glitters is not gold. We now have to become extremely discerning in what we do, because we are now coming into a higher awareness of a cosmic story of what's going on. Now, why I want to talk about extraterrestrials, I'm not going to say, gee, is there extraterrestrials? We wonder. I'm saying there are extraterrestrial, and they have been communicating with humans for a long time. I always like when I see like C SETI, they have all those big radio um, dynamics trying to get a signal. And I think maybe there's been one or two signals, and we can now hear what it sounds like, the planet Venus. Everything has a harmony and a tone. We've come a long way just in terms of within my generation, in terms of space exploration. And now we have a robot and Mars, and we're beginning. And like now it's like, oh, they went to the moon. It's not even a big deal anymore. Like, they're at the moon. So our consciousness is absolutely unfolding. Why is all of this happening? Well, and the astronauts, there has been agenda to keep this quiet. There has been UFOs. People, this is noted. It's no longer like, oh, that person is crazy. More and more people have to look and say, okay, how can everybody, and these are highly sophisticated military people, people of great recognition, that are putting their reputation on the line to say, I got to tell the truth. I have to, I have to share this. And so now, as quiet as this had tried to be, who knows why? People aren't ready for this. It's going to disrupt, people and their religious beliefs. I think humans are way more capable than that. I think humans can handle whatever it is. I think because we have the divine similitude, we'll figure it out. Don't hide it from us. Let us know what's going on, and we could take it from there. But let's always remember, and this is important, don't forget, there is what I call the anti-human agenda. There is a reason why there are certain groups that want to keep, humans in chaos. They want to keep us in war. They want to keep us sort of like oppressed. They have an agenda. Okay. And this is where now, like, the divine Maitreya, the divine Christ, the ones that come from light and love, that it wants us to be empowered, remembering who we are, because it's almost like a control mechanism that has been over the planet for a long time. But the ascension is coming, and so that's going to have to be dismantled. But part of that dismantling is going to be us, the family of light. Every time you do something positive or caring or loving, okay, you don't fall into anger and rage and war and that. Every time any one of us does something uplifting, a smile, a kindness, it raises up the energy. But there are those that are trying to bring the energy down. So you have this back and forth. But guess what? We're on the ascension path because there's other dynamics involved in that. And because of those other dynamics involved now, okay, we are going to become more and more aware of the extraterrestrial presence. There are extraterrestrials that are here right now. There are many that don't necessarily have the big eyes and they're small and stuff. There are many extraterrestrials that look very humanoid. They are humanoid. They are humanoid. And they have been among us, and there's going to be more evidence coming down. So, the family of light, we need to be aware and comfortable of this, because when that time does come where it is self evident, there's going to have to be those people that are not going to go into mass hysteria. There has to be those people to say, let's discern, also to be discerning. You want to discern and say, hi, do you believe in a higher power? Do you believe in love? Do you believe in light? You're going to have to discern that too, because don't forget, you have to discern everything, even on these higher levels. So just having this understanding that we are not alone. The United States government in the month of June, which is next month, has to disclose their information regarding UFOs. That was put into Congress, into a bill. I don't know if you remember that. It is very big in the UFO community. They have to respond, they have to, by law, respond to information now on mainstream media. You're seeing more and more information about UFOs. Before, you'd hear it like, in some offbeat sort of, news thing, not on mainstream. Mainstream now is now bringing the information, because disclosure, absolutely, in my opinion, is going to happen within the decade. Absolutely. If not sooner. If not sooner. So I have heard from different groups that you will see that little tidbits of information are going to start to come out, which we have. January, NASA released, what they call it, the Tic Tac UFO. Okay, now the Pentagon, now the officials are officially recognizing and saying, yes, we don't know what that is, and it's not one of ours. So I know just by the actions, in addition to my own awareness and other people's awareness, have known this around, and the extraterrestrials, that I became aware of are the loving, positive ones. Okay, that want to see the ascension of the planet and want to see good things. Not necessarily all extraterrestrials are like that, just like humans. You have the good, the bad, and the ugly. Same thing on those higher levels. But one of the things that we want to do is to get to the ascension process. Once we get into the ascension process on that other part of what we call the myriad of worlds, the worlds of paradise, and so forth, they don't have this back and forth duality. It's another level. And that's the deepest part of ourselves, is what we want. So we're going to have to expand our awareness, not only on a global level, but on a cosmic level. Because that's who we are. We are truly cosmic beings. And now the time, among cycles of time, is now coming for that to come into play. And that's why we said the great invocation. Why did we say the great invocation? The great invocation is for the new age. What is the new age? The revelation that we're not alone, and in fact, we are part of a cosmic family. And even as we are aware of our cosmic family, we also become aware of the fact that we, as the family of light, are in alignment to that unconditional love, that Christ consciousness, the Maitreya consciousness, whatever you want to call it. That is going to be our shining pathway to know how we maneuver through all of this on a cosmic level. How do we know? Who do we trust? What do we do? It's coming from that higher heart. Any being, I don't care if one comes in a cloud or they come in a UFO, are they in resonance to that unconditional love? That will be your guiding star. And and that will assist you. Okay, so you can assist others. The bottom line, brothers and sisters, dearly beloveds, okay, is that we are in a great shifting of consciousness right now. And part of the shifting of consciousness is going to be finally taking our place as a galactic, cosmic society. It's already happening. We're going to be um, uh, humans on this earth, or what I would say, surface humans on this earth, are already exploring other worlds. Even from the scientific community, at some point when our sun goes, where's the human race going to go? So all of these now is now blossoming into our minds, and we're now saying, okay, for the human species of this planet to continue to survive and thrive does require for us to become aware on a cosmic level where we are in the scheme of things. So when this time does come, it can be, uh, you know, unsettling maybe for some people, traumatic for some people. But the family of light who has been kind of getting comfortable with the idea, okay, then we're going to be the ones that are going to be assisting those individuals that maybe have not been as aware, and see that their world is that, and it's not that. It's just like how the people who thought that the sun revolved around the earth, and just about the ones that thought that you would fall off the planet, they were able to quantum up to the next level of consciousness. But there were people there to assist. There were people that said, no, 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 the earth, you won't fall off. You won't fall off. And there were people say, no, 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 no. The sun doesn't revolve around us. We revolve around the sun along with other celestial bodies. Just as how there were people there to assure people weren't aware of that, to make them come through this transition. Who's that? Who's that going to be? Us. We're the ambassadors. We'll say, have no fear. Okay, we're more acclimated to it. It's going to be okay. And that's why I thought it really was important for us to have this discussion. I want to tell you that we're very excited to have Alan Steinfeld. Alan Steinfeld is, many people may know him. He has a radio show that he's had for a very, very long time. I think it's Cosmic Connections. But in his radio show, he has interviewed a myriad of leaders in the field, in higher consciousness and in UFO community. Alan Steinfeld. He has written a book. I know Alan, and he has an excellent, excellent, excellent understanding, and teaches the remote viewing protocols. Remote viewing is one of the ways of communicating with extraterrestrials and making contact. That's one of the ways. Most extraterrestrials that are in communication with humans on the planet, okay, they're not necessarily the government official. That, guess who they are? Us. They're us. Okay, and telepathic. They're telepathic. So all of a sudden you get an idea or something that comes into your mind that can very well be an extraterrestrial trying to communicate with you. You may see a little vision, so a dream, or something. And this I'm talking about positive. These are positive interactions. And then you become aware that, wow, okay, you become more comfortable with it. You begin to understand. So when we have our brothers and sisters of light, we're just limited to the humans. We're limited to our brothers and sisters on the higher levels of intelligence and loving and caring. That's how you know. When you don't feel good or you feel scared, then nah, that's not the ones. But the loving, embracing, we love you, we're spiritual, we're on the path to, we're here to assist you and help you. Those are the ones that you align with. Those are the ones, and they're here, and they're going to be coming in more because this is the great experiment. This is the great shifting. Everybody in the multiverse is all excited to come in to see the show, and that would be us. And meanwhile, we will be the ambassadors. I have worked with Dr. Stephen Greer. I've worked with a couple number of people. I'm kind of familiar with this topic, and I've had my own experience with it. And I'm here to say it's very exciting. It's very exciting because what's going to happen? They're going to bring in information regarding, bring our beautiful planet back. All the inequities and the great abuse to the planet. Free drinking water, free energy, new energetic medicines. I mean, just a beautiful world. And they're here to say, we can help you do this. We can help you do this. So do we want to do this? Absolutely. It's like you have a cousin, that's already gone through, got their PhD in, I don't know, farming. Okay. And you're here struggling, trying to figure this out. I can show you what to do. And they have done this in the past before. They've done it in the past before. So here we are in the grand cycle of things, and it's coming back right now. So I just want to say, I think this is very, very exciting. Be open to do the research that you need to do. Take what you feel resonates with you. What doesn't resonate with you, throw it out. Okay. But bring it into your awareness because things are happening, and they're probably going to happen a lot faster than we think. I encourage you, if you go on our website, ccosl.com, or on our Facebook page, you will see the workshop that Alan is going to do. I'm so excited that he's going to be doing this workshop for us. And it's going to be on Sunday, January 13th. It's going to be from 3 to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think it's from, I believe it's from 3 to 6 or 3 to 7. But it's on Sunday the 13th. So just look for our Facebook page or go to our website and you will see all the information and you can register. It's going to be on Zoom, so people from all over can participate with it. He's going to have his book. He has interviewed myriads of people in the field. They kind of condensed it all together to tell you this is what's going on, this is what's going to happen, and this is what you can do. Okay. So with that, I'm going to say we have come to the conclusion with our service. And I want to just reiterate again, Esri Umpalti Ata Yod He Vod He. We are not alone, and we are so loved if we only know who we truly are as these divine sparks and where we come from. We would be no one would have a self-esteem problem. No one would have a self-esteem problem. In the multiverse, we are just absolutely applauded and supported because they know the walk on the planet is not necessarily an easy one. They know that. But here we are. We volunteered to be here during this time to help and to assist. So with that, I'm going to close and say namaste. And I'm going to end our Facebook Live here now. Thank you so much. And if anybody from our participants would have any questions or would like to make a comment, I'm opening up to chat now, or you can raise your hand and we can talk. Anybody on Zoom would like to say anything, or would they like to type anything? Let me know. Okay. In that case, I'm going to thank you for being here. As a reminder, we do appreciate your donations. We do this 100% by donations. Everybody that works here at the center are volunteers. So with that, I'm going to say enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Stay tuned for a new time and when we will be changing over in July. Namaste.